here we are. This is S.x Love Psych3delics, and I'm your host, Dr. Kat. Bringing you psychosexual conversations that will leave you intellectually turned on and hungry for more.
You on Instagram because you have such profound nuggets of wisdom in your posts and just some really good quality of things to sit with and reflect on. And there was one in there, and it was a meme, and it said, "Babe, are you okay? You've been having insights for months, but you've barely touched your integration." And the playful part in me knows, like, I've been seeing these memes, where it's like, "Babe, why haven't you touched your dinosaur mashed potatoes or something?"
Right.
and it's like the word integration, here in this playfulness has almost become a buzzword in the psychedelic lexicon.
Yeah.
And yet I'm wondering if the lack of integration is because there's a lack of truly understanding what it could be, not what necessarily what it is, but what it could be. Because integration, I also can see it as this multifaceted definition of what people, see.
Absolutely.
But what could it be, and how could it be applied for people to anchor onto? How would you depict that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, right, there's, like you said, it's multifaceted, right? We can talk about, you and I touched upon that integration actually starts before the experience, right? So integration starts in preparation, because how I prepare will impact what shows up for me, and how I navigate the experience will impact what comes after, which is the integration piece, right? But we talk mostly about integration as like a post-experience process. And the way I think about integration is really, it's an ongoing process of taking your experience and creating a long-term sustainable change. Keyword here is sustainable. Right?
Yeah.
Because we can have peaks of change or bursts of change or catharsis, but then it kind of dissipates or fades out after a while.
Kind of like going, like using
Go
what we were saying a moment ago about this aliveness, this eros. It's almost like taking the potency of aliveness here, and then how can you create the aliveness continue on, continuing rather than letting it completely die.
Relationship.
Yeah.
Relationship. If you think about it, anything that has aliveness in it comes in relations to something. So I'm going to take your example. You felt repulsion.
Yeah.
Right? You're feeling it. It just ran through you. And the moment your partner kind of mirrored it to you, like, you came into relationship with it, right? There is me, and then there's repulsion. And then it's like, oh, I don't want to deal with it. Right? That's then, in that moment, that's the nature of the relationship. It's one of disconnect or repression or something. And then you did this beautiful piece, and you're like, no, I actually really want to be in relationship with that. That is the important thing. So for me, integration is all about the relationship. It's what kind of relationship are you going to have with your experience? And if you want to take it one step deeper, I have a running theory that I will test one day, or like that it actually, how we relate to our experience is a mirror of our attachment system, right? Because if I have a big experience and I stay with it for 2 weeks, and then after 2 weeks, I repress it, I neglect it, I detach from it, it's probably a mirror of how I do things that happen in other relationships, where I meet something really precious. What's my ability to stay related to it?
Oof. Yeah.
Right?
I just want to bring to the awareness of all of our listeners, if you felt that in your body, maybe focus on that for a moment.
Have a relationship with that sensation, right? So integration is about building a relationship. It's ongoing. It's about opening, right? For me, integration is really about asking a lot of questions to keep opening, because then the psychedelic experience continues. So I can go through all, right, the 4 dimensions of experience, which is the somatic, the psychological, emotional, spiritual. What happened to me? Where is there a lot of energy? Maybe there was feelings of repulsion. Maybe there was feeling of eros. Maybe there was feeling of, I revisited an old trauma, or saw a vision, or had an archetypal encounter, or that's where I want to start being in inquiry with. And then, right, I can sit with an encounter with an archetype and be like, okay, what happened when I saw that serpent who was coming and, I don't know, trying to devour me, or telling me, that's a very common, right? Or like trying to bite me, or was I scared? Was I relieved? Was I hopeful? Was I inspired? What happened after? There's so much we can do if we open up that relationship, if we slow down and open it up, and in a way bring, one of my things is like, you're bringing some kind of erotic sensual dimension to your experience, because it's about slowing down, it's about getting in touch with, it's about feeling, it's about sensing, as opposed to, wow, I had this big experience, let me make conclusions about it, right? It means this.
Yeah, very intellectual.
It's intellectual. It's also, for me, it's residual of our capitalistic complex of, oh, I've experienced something, you understand it fast, you move on, you create something from it. As opposed to what you and I are talking about, which is like, no, how about you take your time? How about you let it unfold? How about you let it open? Right? So it's both capitalism, and it's also, I think, it's just a very... it's a common side effects of suffering. If I'm suffering and I go into an experience and it offers me a way out of suffering, I will take it. But sometimes we do that too fast. Right?
Yeah.
This is where I heard you speak about this. You said the only time a psychedelic experience feels like 10 years of therapy, it's because you had 10 years of therapy before that. Right. So I think for me, it's the same. It's like, right. It's a echo of that. It's this wish that we have for some kind of panacea, some kind of something that will take us out of suffering.
Well, that was fun. Thanks for tuning in, lovers. And if you want to experience more ecstasy and sexual liberation, head over to s.xlovepsychedelics.com and learn about how you can join me for any one of my online or live events. And while you're there, grab my free guide on sex and psychedelics. Remember, this podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please contact your healthcare provider and local law before pursuing any of the products or psychedelics discussed. And one final note here. I make this show specifically for you. If you're loving the show, then be sure to leave me a review in iTunes or Spotify to let me know. Happy to be here and happy to serve. I'll see you next time on S.x Love Psychedelics.